If you're a freelancer, working 3D artist, or just want to work with better clients in your career, you don't want to miss today's Q&A. Let's go. Hey everybody, it's Nick here again from GrayscaleGorilla.com, bringing you the tools, training, and tutorials to help make you a better motion designer. Now, today's video is a recording from when I did a Q&A where I answered your questions about how to get better clients, how to speak to those clients, how to do your best work, and we also talk a little bit about the behind the scenes here at Grayscale Gorilla. Now, if you're watching along and you have a question for me for one of our future Q&As, don't forget to put it in the comments below. We're always looking for great questions. Our goal is to help you become the best motion designer possible. So with that, let's head on into today's recording. Thanks again so much for coming, everybody. Today, we're going to do a Q&A, AMA, whatever the kids are saying these days. My goal here is to answer your questions. And I know I said this a little earlier, but my interest is more than just Cinema 4D, more than After Effects. It is really about taking those things that you love doing and are interested in and learning more about and figuring out a way that you can actually get paid to do that so that you can do more of it. You know, Disney has this awesome quote, and Walt Disney, and he says, you know, I don't make movies to make money. They make money so that they can make more movies. And I think that really sums up the creative, you know, feeling of like, right, this is what I want. What I'm interested in is doing the thing, making the stuff, figuring out how this works, getting better at it, learning my craft, learning design and animation and audio and composition and how all these things come together to make something that is interesting. And as you become better at that, you're going to find that there are other people that need that want what you are making. And so that's what the goal is today, is to talk about both sides of it. The technical side of a creative world and a creative life, but also how do you turn that into potentially a job? And doing mostly what you love for a living. And for those of you who are already working and in the industry, how do you work with better clients? How do you ask for more money? How do you how do you do more of what you like? Maybe you're feeling a little stuck of like, I am doing kind of what I like, but I'd like to do more of this. So talking about those transitions. So we're going to try to talk about some of those things today. And also on top of it, if you've ever had any questions just for me about my story, about where I, figured some of these things out, I always love talking about that as well. So feel free to ask practically any question. I'm going to sit here, and my goal is to help as many people as possible in the next 45-ish minutes or so. So we'll see how much time we have. So let's get started. And we have a first question here, right here, from Freezak. Hope I said your name right. I'm sure I didn't. I'm going to mess up some names. I apologize. It says, Nick, how hard was it to start? Did you start all in, or did you go step by step? So I'm thinking back to when I originally got into motion design, and before I even knew what all this stuff was, I already was a computer nerd, I guess you could call me. I was interested in video games and all that stuff as a kid. And then when I had my first computer to myself, my own computer, I got into recording and Pro Tools and mixing audio. I was always a musician, and all that kind of overlapped with computer world. And I ended up learning how to record bands and do all that stuff. So I already had a little bit of knowledge on timelines and animation, for keyframing audio and stuff like that. So when I saw After Effects, that was like the next logical progression. So I just started like right in with After Effects. How do you use this thing? And so I came at it like a lot of people come at it from the software first. Like, what actual software do I need to do this? And I started learning After Effects. I took like practically a whole summer off. All I did was work during the day and then just watch After Effects training videos at night. So I started off in that way. And you probably heard the story, but it took me a long, long time to realize that I also needed to learn many other things, including animation fundamentals, design, typography, composition, how things fit in a rectangle pleasing to the eye, like all these visual parts of it never dawned on me for many, many years. But back in 2002-ish, 2001, 2002, I started obsessing over After Effects. And that was kind of my start. And then, it went into Cinema 4D, and then it went into, training and teaching and tutorials and making plugins, and kept going from there, right? But I guess there's only one way to start, and that's just pick something. If I were to give advice, is pick the part of it that you're the most interested in and dive as deep as you can into it. For me, it was diving deep enough into After Effects and honing my skills enough in After Effects to make myself realize that I needed to learn more. Because that's what starting will do for any of you in any part of your career. Learning something new will open another door that'll allow you to stretch further in those directions. So thanks for the question. Elephant T says, when did you start doing creative stuff and all that? I feel like I've always been creative. I never would have called myself a designer. I couldn't draw. Wasn't really interested in design things, but I was always interested in how things worked. Like, how do you do that? Is like my favorite phrase. So I kind of lump all that stuff together. Your creativity, in being inquisitive, asking interesting questions, all of that stuff kind of comes in this. It's all in the same bucket, right? So if you think of it that way, I've always been interested. I've always wanted to like take the toys apart and figure out how they mechanically worked. I always liked dominoes and setting them up in new ways, and marble machines and all these things as a kid. Just loved the creativity of it. So I would say I always had some part of that in me, but it wasn't until I started recording bands and learning more about becoming a musician and all that where I realized that, okay, this is like a creative thing that I'm interested in. So it's pretty young. As early as 9, 10, 11 years old. Awesome. All right, next question. Cool. Thanks, GSG, for all your tips and advice. Awesome. Thank you for that comment. Amelia, I hope I get your name right. Amelia says, "Hi, Nick. So I have an opportunity to make a concept for Nike Shop of Future, and I'm kind of stuck with ideas. All I can think of is interactive screens everywhere. What do you think? What the Nike? Oh, I see. What does the Nike Shop of the Future look like?" So yeah, I mean, this is, of course, my thinking on this is everybody else will come in with some sort of interactive screen thing. So how do you take that concept, if it is the future, how do you take that concept and push it further? Or how do you totally, come up with something a little opposite? So it sounds like you have an idea to like bid on this or pitch a concept that might get picked. So in many ways, you have to think about where you are in the competition too. And sometimes doing something a little bit opposite will catch somebody's eye, especially if you have a hunch that most people will come in with the same kind of concept over and over again. So if you're stuck with ideas, what I would do is go to a site like Behance, or go to some design site and just start looking at ideas on like how space works and like new hotel lobbies, or like start thinking of a space more than just like a screen, and get yourself out of the screen rectangle mode and get yourself more into like, what does this new building look like? What do new big spaces feel like? And start coming at it from that angle, because you might come up with something a little bit new and a little bit from another world that's not just another like Minority Report kind of thing. So hopefully that's helpful in the right direction. Awesome. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for all these questions. Keep them coming. Make sure you put the Q and a colon in there just so I could kind of eyeball them here in the comments. Let's see here. Says Mike. Mike has a question. I have a hard time helping other people understand how dauntingly complicated 3D is compared to 2D. Any tips or weird metaphors to help me educate my 2D friends? Yeah, I mean, you know me, I love weird metaphors. So let's see if we could come up with a weird metaphor on the spot. So here's what comes to my mind. 2D is you can fake and cheat so many things in 2 dimensions because ultimately what you're making is a picture. So imagine if you only had to make a picture, you only really need to worry about what is visible to the camera at that specific moment. And in other words, you never have to learn to draw the back of people's heads if you're the like a 2D artist. You know, there's maybe a rare case that you need to like figure out how the back of someone's head is, but in 3D you have to recreate everything from scratch. This is how I could maybe start to talk to some of your clients. In 3D, we have to make everything from scratch. So in other words, if we need a texture or a shape or some lighting, we have to build it as if it's a thing in the real world almost. So start to get them down that road. The other thing I've had them, people that are not quite familiar with 3D do is say, hey, have you ever seen a Pixar movie? Have you ever seen any behind the scenes on a Pixar movie? And a lot of people are really interested in Pixar. They're interested in behind the scenes. And I go, you ever seen, you know, where they show you how each individual hair is like made and all these simulations and all the lighting, like all the work that goes into just one scene on that movie. And they like a lot of people really like that and follow it. I would use that as a metaphor to kind of pull it into the difference between, okay, what 2D and 3D was. Well, similar to them, we have to make all this from scratch. We have to go in and build up things and mountains and text and whatever you're trying to, you know, pitch. It is that much more complicated. It's not just one more complicated, it's exponentially more complicated. So when you jump from 2 to 3, it's not just one, it's a multiple, right? So for the more math people, they could go, okay, I get it. It's the difference between just worrying about what's on the flat page and understanding that we need to be concerned about the whole depth of the whole scene. It's not super clear. I probably need a little bit more time with that one to try to like understand it. But with any explanation, try to find something they are familiar with. And this is a key. This is why knowing a little bit about everything is always helpful in a social situation, because find out what their interest is. Find out, you know, if they're into skateboarding, say, hey, here's a drawing of a skateboard that looks like a skateboard. But for me to do this in 3D, I need to make the bearings and the bottom of the skateboard and the wheels and the hubs. And like, I got to do all of this. So see if there's something there. Thanks for the question and keep them coming. Great. Awesome. All right. Just scrolling down here to find some more. My question is, so this is from CJ Mixer. Thank you for the question. Says, I'm in the same boat as many 2D MoGraph folks coming from After Effects. My question is, what projects, Cinema 4D skills are the most essential when trying to segue into more 3D work and get paid for it? The daily renders definitely help, but it seems like those aren't marketable to get hired for work. Thanks. Great question. And this is something that comes up all the time. And it really does have to do with, how do you navigate this like daily render path, which I think is a good path if you treat it the right way? And how do you transition, you know, that into something that's a little bit more marketable? Right now, the trend in daily renders is very abstract. It's very sci-fi. It's very not very commercial. So what I would say is keep the daily render habit, but instead move it to something that you've seen on TV before. Move it to something that you've seen a lot. So maybe you take 30 days and make 30 title cards for your favorite show or your friend's bakery or something. Like, pick a logo, pick a name, you know, and make 30 different unique ways to animate that coming on. One's really slow, epic. One's really fast and cartoony. One's, you know, like on a wave, like you concept this like ocean wave and they're all stuck to the ocean. What you're going to do is you're still going to learn new skills. Like, how do I stick letters to a wave? That's a good question. You could start to solve those things in a creative way, learn about how to make them beautiful because you're trying to do these once a day or once a week or whatever you have time for. But now you're learning things that apply more commercially for the person that might hire you for your first gig. I will also say, do a little bit of both. The cool stuff, the trendy stuff, the cool stuff is sometimes what lets people know that you are in the world, right? They might see a really cool abstract render and say, what else do you do? And when they find your Instagram page, Behance page, whatever, hopefully they'll also see some commercial work. And if you haven't done enough commercial work, you need to make your own commercial work. I guess that's what I'm saying. If you haven't done enough actual commercial work, you need to give yourself your own client work that looks more like something people would pay for, and put that on your reel. And it doesn't have to be super dry. It could have a lot of yourself in it, but it has to be something where people go, oh, I see what they're doing there, and I've seen work like that, and I like the way that you approached it. So I would start to do more commercial stuff on your daily render habit. That's the short, that too long did not read. I would start doing more commercial stuff. So wherever you're trying to go in that world, start adding it to your daily. CJ, thanks for the question. Locked and loading. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming by. He's asking, would you ever do a project for a client again? If so, what client would you love to work with? Awesome question. And up until about the last year, the answer is, we've never done any client work at Grayscale Gorilla. We've been focused on, making plugins and training for the freelancer, for motion graphics artists out there that are trying to get better. But however, in the last year, we have been expanding what we are trying to do. And it all comes down to some phone calls we got. Well, I'll explain it to you. We started getting phone calls from, well, let me take a step back. There are moments in your career where you're going to look around and go, how did I even get here? Like, I thought I was going to do this thing A, and I ended up in like Z. And I've always had that feeling. I've always had that feeling of, I thought I wanted to be After Effects, but then I ended up and do motion designy stuff. And then I ended up doing compositing for visual effects shots. And then I learned cinema. And then I started a website where I trained people to do cinema. And then I started making plugins. Like, who knew? Who knew? I would have never guessed that. And this is another who knew in a long line of things. So I just wanted to set that up. So we started getting phone calls from some of our bigger clients, big Fortune 500 companies that are, building their own farms, and they have their own internal teams for motion design. And they've been asking like, hey, do you guys train and help companies like ours speed up our workflow? Talk to us about, making specific templates or even plugins to help big companies make these, make all these renders, right? There are giant companies that have to get out so much 3D every day. And I'm not talking about, Pixar. I'm talking about, Frigidaire needs to get all their refrigerators modeled, lit, textured, and out the door with a 360 that's going on a commercial tomorrow. And so many of these bigger companies are having these issues. And I'll tell you, I've had a lot of fun and a lot of physical good feelings. There's a better word for that. When I get off the phone or when I go visit them and I help them speed up their workflow, and I see like a giant group of artists do their job faster and better because of something that we help them with, those are my favorite clients these days. So that to me, I get more out of that than I would making something for the Super Bowl, right? Like that doesn't make me super excited. It lets me brag in front of my parents and my cousins that my commercial was on the Super Bowl. That's cool. But it didn't give me a lot of internal good feeling vibes, right? It's not why I did what I did. When I start working with these bigger teams and learning about some of their problems, I realize that's really what I love about training and teaching and making plugins is literally helping the people that need it. So I hope that answers it, but it's been a surprise to me in my career that when I got back into client work, that it wasn't doing, a spot for Nike or anything. It was literally going to some of our bigger customers and really helping them speed up their workflow for, a dozen or 100 artists somewhere. So that's been awesome. And I should say, I've never really done this out loud. We've always get phone calls behind the scenes, but if you guys are out there working in one of these places, you have your own team, you're trying to set up something, speed it up, and you need somebody to come in and just kind of talk about where you are in your workflow and your 3D pipeline, don't feel free to hit us up, because we've been really excited to do it, and we've been digging the results. So thanks for the question, man. Cool. EKHO says, what AMA means? So AMA is Ask Me Anything. So I'm not sure if I'm officially doing the AMA the right way. I'm sure there's like a Reddit way that I'm supposed to be doing this. But it basically is a Q&A. It's a way that you can ask pretty much anything you want, and I'll try to answer it. My goal is to help and to talk about my process, and in turn, hopefully, share with you what's been working for me in this weird little creative world. Edit by, I'm going to say Cetia. Hope I said your name right, with the question in the colon. Thank you. Let me grab some water and we'll read this question and get going. It says, hey, Nick, I'm currently learning motion design to get into the industry, but I don't have experience with design. How should I approach companies to get my first job? So that's tough, right? It sounds like you have some technical skills, but you haven't really been studying design. And it's really tough. It's really tough to get that first gig if you have like zero design skills. When I was working in the industry, it was often said that they would rather hire a good designer and teach them the After Effects than hire somebody really good at After Effects and then teach them design, because the software is sometimes the easier of the two. I'd say it's almost always the easier of the two, because software has like some tangible things to it that are real. Like, you need a sphere, there's a way to go make a sphere. You need text moving, there's a way to go make text moving, and there you go, there's text moving. But with creative skills and design skills, there's often no right answer. It is up to you to create this new and unique answer. And so those skills are harder to learn. And I do think that many employers are looking for those skills above some of the technical skills. So let's talk about that for a second. It could be very often, and I did the same thing, that you get into something through the technical. You get into something because it was interesting to you, that the technology was fun. And for example, I wanted to just learn After Effects and move stuff around and figure this out. And later is when I learned design. And I really wished I could go back and tell myself to learn both at the same time. But you also need that first part of it to kind of pull you in. You need that interesting part that pulls you in. And if I were to go back in time and tell myself that I had to learn all this design stuff, I might have even scared myself off of doing it, because there was parts of it I was like, I don't want to be an artist. I just want to play with After Effects. And so I guess it's all coming together to say, now that you had your entryway into this world with a piece of software, you have to start now to expand that world that you are a part of to get work doing this, right? So if all you want to do is like put paint on a piece of canvas, you can do that, right? You can do that and do it over and over again. And if it doesn't really matter if anybody buys it, you're just interested in it and you're playing, then that's where you can stop. But as soon as you want to sell that piece of canvas, you have to realize that there's another person that needs to interact with you. You need to talk and figure out how to put it in a gallery. You need to figure out how pricing works. You need to figure out how to interact with potential buyers. You might need to learn how to make something a little slightly different that has their favorite colors in it so that they are interested in buying it, right? There's middle ground here where it's not 100% pure what you need to do. You have to start to learn the things that will grow your ability to get paid to do this, and design is going to be one of them. So I guess the short answer is you have to start now. Chris Do and his team at The Futur, they're putting together tons of great videos about exactly this, about design, typography. Go check out their YouTube page and just start learning design right now, and start to consider yourself a designer first and a technology person second. Okay, am I talking too fast? Man, I'm out of breath. What's going on here? All right, get some water. I'll try to speed these up. There's got a lot of questions today. I want to make sure I get to as many of them as I can. So if you're in the chat here, definitely, keep them coming. Don't repeat questions because I am going in order. But here we go. So thank you for that question. Liber3D says, question, living in some places makes it harder to make a living doing 3D. What do you think about this? Absolutely. Your direct market around you is it's gonna change the way you interact with the market in a couple ways. One, if you're in a place that doesn't do a lot of 3D commercial work, it's gonna be hard for you to meet the people in person that could pull you into the next part of your career. I was lucky to work in Chicago. There was a lot of people around I could meet with and go to After Effects meetups and Cinema 4D meetups and meet all the people that are such a big part of this world and my career over the years. So if you don't live around something like that, you do have to make a bigger effort to go find them. So find something close by, and maybe you got to save up and get a ticket, but you got to eventually go meet the people that do this stuff, because that's gonna springboard you so much further, meeting somebody and showing them what you're into than trying to do it online. So the second thing is, so that's the main hurdle, right? Not being around the people just creatively and the people that could actually help you in your gig. So make sure you go find them in some way possible. The other way you could do it, if you are in isolated a little bit in your world, is learn the online ways to do this. So that's, starting a practice where you're putting a lot of work out, showing behind the scenes, being very honest and open about you as an artist, and sharing your work and sharing your journey and building up your own version of yourself online where people can go, okay, I'm digging this. Somebody like French Monkey, who's here in the chat, did just that. He started posting all this stuff and was just like answering questions and helping as many people as he could, and grew a following. And I don't know if he ever went out and like shook a lot of hands in person, but he's been growing that online. So look at how that happens online and get to it. Thanks for the question. Thanks for all the audio stuff too. I do need to nerd out with some of the gear I'm buying. And once it's in here, I'll probably do a little live stream, maybe somewhere else. Awesome. Let's see here. Let me make sure these are questions. They're talking to each other. MWITIMKX. Sure. I'm not even going to try to say that because that's a KX, man. I got to figure out what that noise is and figure it out. But for now, thank you for the question. Sorry about the name. Sorry, I didn't say that one right. Says, I'm finding it really hard to get going in Fusion. I get the nodes concept because I work in Resolve, but there's really limited and basic information and tutorials on Fusion. Basically, asking if I know where to learn it. I don't know of a lot of Fusion stuff, tutorials. I'm sure they're out there. Nothing that any more than a Google and a YouTube search will find you. But we are looking into that too. A lot of 3D artists are looking at node-based compositing for 3D work instead of After Effects. So we're actually looking at it internal as well. We might do some of that in the future, but for now, I apologize. I don't really have an answer for you. But do find somebody that is using Fusion and ask them. Right? Because I don't use it. All right, here we go. Question. DH921911. Thanks for the question. They are asking, I think one of the biggest dilemmas we have where we work is that we spend a lot of time on clients who pay high, but the projects aren't exciting. Makes it hard to find time to market to better clients. Well, you know, it's not quite a question, but I know what you're getting at, right? Like it's how do you get different types of clients if you're not allowed to do different types of work and you're just always doing the same thing? So it's something you might want to bring up with where you're working, right? So the people that are running this team might be happy. Like they're getting high paying clients and they have this group of artists that are delivering and making high paying clients happy. So to their side, to your employer's side, everything might be just fine. This is working great. We got people willing to pay us high amounts. You're saying it. And the work's not that hard to do, right? There's nothing too like, you know, technology, nothing so groundbreaking where the artists get to like expand and, you know, make something new. They just get it done. Check's clear. And the owner is like, well, I love it. So it's up to you to make sure that they understand that this is a part of your career that you need fulfilled. And that doesn't mean saying, hey, I'm done working on this. What it might mean is saying, hey, can we have a budget to do this like behind the scenes project that we think will be really cool. And everybody on the team wants to do it, and we'll do it in our spare time, or we'll do it in between other jobs. And we just want to make something fun, and we need to rent like a high-speed camera and like get some lights and maybe hire or like get some software or whatever. Like whatever it is you need from them to do it, I would pitch it in that way. And bring as many people from the team into the room and say, yeah, we've always wanted to do something a little bit more like this. And then start to talk in their language. Don't continue to talk to them as a designer, because they might not get it. They might not understand. They're like, you're doing easy work and getting paid and everything's fine, right? And so you need to say the first part of it, which is I need this creative side of my body filled somehow. And this is a way to do it. But then you need to turn it and start to talk in their language. So bring up other high paying, high visibility work, you know, that is really creative and really interesting, and that's winning Emmys and winning like awards, and maybe also is working with high paying clients, and say, we could maybe do both if you let us spread our wings a little bit here. Let's take our technical know-how that we know how to do this stuff. Let us flex our design muscles a little bit, and we're going to come up with something that will attract even more clients and better higher paying clients than we even have now. So make sure you talk in their language as you do it. But it is up to you to bring that up, because they might go, everything's fine. So hopefully that helps. And you need to understand their motivation on what they're trying to do. Awesome. Very cool. Let's got some talking back and forth here. Okay, I think we officially got some Q's and some A's going. Okay. Liber has another question. I think I answered one before, so I'll try to keep this one short. It says, hey, can you make some tutorials on the motion graphics process? I mean, the production part and all that stuff. I haven't found nothing serious out there. That's been a big like want of mine for a long time, is to make some sort of tutorial series with a real client and have them come in, talk about the pitching process, talk about the discovery process, the creative process, how we come up with ideas, how we pitch it back, what the budget will be, how we negotiate the budget, like all of that. Like that stuff's really, it isn't out there. And it's hard to find that, because no client wants to be on the receiving end of that, right? They don't want their their negotiation process recorded and put out on a tutorial. But I've always thought there's a way that it could be possible. So what I would do is I would find yourself in those rooms. I would try to find a job where you are able to sit in on that. If you're working around or at a place that does that, but they do all their negotiating and all the process and all that stuff behind the scenes, I would ask them, if you're an intern or you know somebody, say, hey, can I come in and sit in on meetings and just take notes for you guys, or figure out how you can help, figure out how you can help them, not just, ask a favor, but say, hey, I'm willing to come in and, get this going, or take notes, or get lunch, or whatever it is, just to be in the room. I won't say a word. I'm just going to be there learning how this works. So unfortunately, it is one of those things that is hard to learn without seeing it happen. NJ Camp, thank you for coming. Thank you for asking a question. Says, how do you price for 3D still life design if you've done that versus motion design? How much more do you price 3D animation than 2D animation? And how do you explain this pricing to clients? There's a lot to unpack here, NJ. There's no perfect science to this. It's much more of an art. And the easiest way to do this now is to find somebody in your market with similar clients that is a similar skill set and like level to you, and just ask them. Because then you'll hit it right on, because there's so many more questions I would have to ask you to find an actual number to say right now. That would be impossible. I don't know where you live. I don't know your client base. I don't know how good you are. It's really hard to do it. And it's not even a percentage thing based on 2D. Sometimes 2D is more expensive, right? Right? Like, you need to figure out what other people are doing in your industry and your world, and just see if you can ask them directly. Hey, can I ask you like kind of a personal question? Like, how do you charge this stuff? Find a friend, find an agency, find somebody in your world. This is why meeting people is so big. This is why that like going out to a user meetup, meeting people that do what you do is such a big part of this creative world, is because there is no right answer. There's just what's kind of working now, and it could break tomorrow for so many things in this world, for so many things, especially motion design. It moves faster than anything. We have different types of, design and styles and trends happening. We have different, color palettes that are like popular and not. You have different software that's popping and different renderers, and everything's changing. And so the best way to really stay on top of that is to find somebody that's doing it and to just ask and emulate, right? I didn't know how to price plugins when I started making plugins. So I did what I thought was the next logical step, which is look at a successful software plugin company that was still in business years later, not somebody that just popped up, because they might pop up and charge $5 and go away 10 years later or 2 years later. I wanted to find somebody online that was a real business, that was making great stuff, and figure out what they're pricing and kind of like base my prices on theirs. And that's exactly what I did. Went to Red Giant, saw roughly what their pricing was. I realized what my first plugin wasn't quite at a level of like particular, so I didn't want to charge that much, but it was around the level of some of their other plugins, at least in usefulness to the people using Lightkit Pro. So I said, there's my price. Emulate. There's no creative. There's so much to create in this world. There's so many new things that we get to try and play with and experiment with. But when it really comes down to like, you have no idea, start with copying and move from there, because that is how you can learn faster. Start by emulating and see how that works for you, and then adjust based on who you are. Your uniqueness will come in time, but start by copying. That's I say it over and over again, but that's why they teach covers on piano. When you go get piano lessons, they don't say, here's how to play piano, and also you have to make up all your own original music. They say, no, we're going to teach you piano, but you're also going to play music that's already been written before, because you can't do both at the same time. So start by emulating and move and morph it to fit yourself better. All right. I felt good. Thanks for that question. Let's go here. Q&A, some new Grayscale Gorilla behind the scenes. Man, I don't know how much behind the scenes, I could share necessarily. Well, there's my new lovely bookshelf with all my new fun stuff on it, all my books. Other stuff behind the scenes is we have some new training we're working on. It's actually X Particles training, so we're really excited about that. Very robust X Particles training. If you're using X Particles, keep an eye open for this because I think it's lacking in our world, and I think it's going to help a lot of people that use X Particles a lot. So that's coming up. We got some plugins we're working on. Chad had an amazing plugin idea that is in development right now. I guess we can't talk about that. That's really not behind the scenes, but I'll tell you a little personal story behind the scenes. You know, I recently moved from Chicago to back to Detroit, suburbs of Michigan. And that was a big change. It was a big change for me and, you know, my family. And it actually, I moved here because of family. My wife and I's family are from the Detroit area. We love our family and we came over here to do that. And at the same time, Grayscale Gorilla as a team, we all kind of split up a little bit. We all work together still, but we didn't all work in the same room anymore. Right? So now we all mostly work from home. I have this little small office about a mile from my house. And that has been a lot of the behind the scenes of Grayscale Gorilla. That's been really fun. It's actually been really, really fun to learn how to run a team without being around them. And it's also been fun just personally to work with people like Chris and Chad and Jacqueline too, who are better at what they do than I am. And we are able to build something bigger and better than anything that I could do on my own. And that's been a learning process for me personally, because I naturally have the instinct to go by myself and figure it out. That's my personality. My personality is, give me a book and about how to code a website, and I'm going to go code a website. And my personality didn't naturally say, hey, and instead, I'm going to go find the person that's best at making websites and see if we could work together to make something even better than I can make on my own. So that's been just a personal behind the scenes development for me and the team, is the ability for us to make better training, better plugins, better live shows. Like I could go into all that stuff. Like how this is all happening is because I started working with people better than I was at so many things. And so I'm better at it at some things than they are. They're better at some things than I am. And that's been an interesting learning process. And it's been really fun. It's been challenging sometimes, but it has allowed me to do more than I could ever do on my own. And I bring it up because I think it's a struggle too for many of us. And I know I was there. I'm still struggling with it. But the more that we say, I'm going to dig in, put my head down and get it done, that could have been a chance to find and meet other people that are a little bit better at it and build something together that you couldn't do on your own. So if you have that personality, think about it. Do I really need to go learn RealFlow right now? Or can I go find somebody that is awesome with it? You could do your awesome thing that you're already awesome at. They could do their RealFlow thing and you guys can make something more beautiful together. So a little behind the scenes here. Thanks for the question. Let's keep going. 531 says, question, I'm a firm believer that the best way to grow in this field by getting involved in the community. Can you explain your insights on how to be involved, either on Slack, going to things like HalfRes, help people in their careers? Question. Great question. It's a little bit of what we've talked about before, so I'll just kind of do the shorter version of it. Helping is the best way. Helping is the number one way to go meet people right now. If there is a conference or a meetup or something happening in your town or within 3-4 hours of your town, go find out the person that runs that conference, that meetup, and say, hey, can I help? I'm so-and-so, I live here, and I'm so obsessed with this industry, this world, this thing. Is there any way that I can help you do whatever you want? and just put it out there. And if you want to take it an extra step, go find something that they obviously need help with and mention that specific thing. So go do some research. Go find that group, go look at their website. And if you know how to make a better looking website or like some part of their world, if you can insert yourself in as somebody that's good at it, write a confident email and say, hey, I want to help. I realize what you're doing here. You're trying to like build this community. I just so happen to do websites. You know, if you ever wanted to, you know, build a way for people to sign in online, I could totally do that for you. I just want to be a part of this community. I really love it. Throw yourself out there and offer to help. If there are volunteers for something, volunteer. If anybody goes, hey, does anybody help? Don't even worry about what they're about to say. Put your hand up first and say, I'm willing to help. Because to me, that's the quickest way in. The quickest way in is to help. Let other people know that you're interested, that you're helpful, you're inquisitive, and that you get it done. So you have to go not only help, but then take take the thing that you can help with and actually go deliver on it. Because they're going to go, wow, like this person that I met came in, solved the problem. Awesome. You want that attitude when it comes to meeting these people and to do that. So if you can't do it in person, do it online. Go to a forum, go to a Slack channel, and hang out for a day and just try to answer everyone's questions. If you know the answer, help. If you know every, PC part of like what video card goes with what software and what chip goes with what heat gun or whatever, sit in that room of motion designers and help them with their PC problems. Hey, have you ever thought about this? Hey, don't forget, AMD isn't compatible with this, but it is with this. Like whatever let it out. And people will understand, okay, this person is like in our community trying to help, and they're going to slowly understand what you're trying to do. Hopefully that's helpful. Paul has a question. Nick, can you show some more work that you've done for clients recently? We haven't, other than what I was talking about earlier, where we've been doing a lot of consulting and talking with specific clients on how we could speed up their workflow, tweak their render settings, show them, some better ways to use some of these new renderers, speed up their pipeline, allow them to render faster. Those are more of the things that we're doing. And a lot of it's, behind closed doors. I can't share that stuff with you personally. So I hope you understand. All right. Let's go here. Tater1 says, should I purchase Cinema 4D directly from Maxon, or should I purchase it from a third party for the best deal? If you already have a relationship with, Tool Farm or somebody, I would get it through them. But if it's your first time buying it, I would actually just call up Maxon, your region. If it's US, tell them, hi, Grayscale Gorilla said hi, and say, yo, it's my first time buying. And, just ask them if there's any deals or anything going on. And they might be able to help you out too. But yeah, it'll all be pretty comparable. But, going directly to the company too, that's always a good idea. Luke, C4D, media coder, can render while you sleep. I should be looking at cues. Nice, Nick. Nice help. Sebastian, thank you. Freeax. I'm going to go with Freeax this time. Question. I've been overwhelmed by this dilemma. Just started doing 3D and I don't know how to charge, basically. Sometimes struggle with the possibility of them going away if I ask too much money and me wanting to do the job. So I'm already on this question. Would you go down on your rates, or would you stick to a price even though a client might go away? I'll say this. I totally get that feeling. I still have that feeling. Being able to say what the price is and then say, if you want to pay it, I'm glad to help. But if you're not, we're just not willing to do it, is hard. It's hard. That's hard to do. Like, it's emotionally hard. Like, what if they say no? What does that mean about you? Does that mean you suck at this? Does that mean they don't like you? Like, there's so much emotion wrapped up into it. And so it reminds me of a couple things. We had Chris Do out at Half Res this year on the stage, and we talked about just this. How do you price? And how do you stand up and say, these are my new rates. My rates are going up, and we would love to work with you. We're going to keep you at the old rate for, the next project, but after that, it's going to go up to this, and so we talked about some of the language and all that stuff. We hope to have that up, that interview up in the next few months. But until then, I would take a step back and know where you are. Do you know where you are and how good you are at what you do? And if you are confident that you can make something that they are looking for and that you have the technical skills, try to tell that part of your person to grab the shy part of your other side of your person and pull them up and say, stand up, tell them we're good at this. Because when I thought about, I'll just bring it back to these clients we've been talking about, these bigger clients, when I thought about, do I know enough about what I'm doing here to solve their problems between me and Chris and Chad and our team? When I thought like, yes, of course we have the knowledge and the over 50 years of playing with Cinema 4D and learning this stuff, we have one of the best teams for that. And so when that logical side of my brain said, yeah, of course we could speed up somebody's workflow, we are the best at that. That let me grab the other side of my body and say, like, then we need to like stand up and say the price confidently, right? Like it has to be equal. Now, if you're not sure if you could deliver, then don't tell them that, but be aware of your pricing and how it goes and say, hey, you know what? This is my price. I'm willing to, here's a last little piece of advice for this, because we'll move on. Stand up, be confident about your full price. And if you're not so confident on actually delivering it, what you're trying to deliver, say, you know, but for you, since you're a first time customer or whatever you want to say, we're going to charge this for the first rate. And then if everything goes well, we work well together, you know, it's going to go to the regular rate after this. So this allows you to do both at the same time. It allows you to tell them your full rate and your higher rate of what you want to charge, but it also allows you to kind of stay at your current price for now. But then they know. And when you get the call back, you don't even have to explain it the second time. You just go, awesome, I'm ready to do it. Send them the bill, and they know that you're on the new number. So there's a lot there that this won't be answered in you know, a quick little thing from me, but you have to start practicing and learning it, because the more you do it, the more you'll realize that when you stand up and say your price, the worst thing that I thought would happen is that they'll turn around and go, what the heck are you talking about? Screw you, I'm out of here. Nobody's done that. Respectful people with businesses do not do that. They say, you know, it's a little bit out of our budget, but, you know, when we have a budget for a bigger thing, we're going to stay in touch and maybe next time. That's the worst that's going to happen. And if they say, you know, screw you, you don't ever want to work with them anyway. All right, let's move on. Wrapping up here. It's okay. We've been on for about an hour, but I think we're okay. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. We got plenty more here. I'm going to turn this into rapid fire mode. Most fun project I've worked on. Paul, there was a music video I helped my buddy do some lighting and some compositing for. Noah Konopask did some like early music video stuff with him. That was a blast. Some slow-mo video back then. The Disco Holiday stuff back in DK era. Some early project I worked on with Chad Ashley. We did a spec Puma shoe commercial. That was really fun. Yeah, I love that stuff. I love just experimenting and playing with stuff. Edit says, do you have any book recommendations for studying design? Looking at my bookshelf for design-based ones. You know, there's some good typography books out there. I would say I think it's called like Stop Stealing Sheep or something like that. I've read that one. I've read some more technical typography books, but I would, if possible, I know these are rare to find these days, go into a bookstore, find the design section, and find one that is actually readable where you can go through it. I'd also say that YouTube videos are popping up more and more that are showing exactly how you do design. Go look for logo critiques or, you know, typography critiques on YouTube. You'll find videos of people going like, that's too close and maybe this typeface. And then go also check out Aaron Draplin. Go watch him work anywhere you can online. He's got a really straightforward way of talking about design that's not too, flowery. It's just very direct. Like, that's not looking good. This does, and why. So start to learn those questions why. And the last thing I'll say is, find something that you enjoy in the world that is design and break down in your head why you think it looks the way it does. So start talking about why they pick colors, why they pick typefaces. Awesome. Thanks for the question. Nick, what's your approach when a client has zero artistic design background, is providing subjective feedback on the project? We talked about this. I'll just direct you to our last few podcasts. If you have the time, we've been talking a lot about this, about what happens when you get notes from your client. So I literally think 2-3 podcasts ago, we had one called What to Do with Notes from Clients or something like that. Go find that podcast. We talk all about it. Luke says Animation Survival Kit. Absolutely. That's a great book. Yeah, man. French Monkey, we got to get you out in Chicago, man. It'd be good to see you. Cool. Is Fusion 360 free? I'm not sure. I know that they were doing some sort of price drop for Fusion recently. I want to say like $300 or something like that. Maybe I'm confusing it with something else. Cool. Here's a question. Nick, how old are you now? And how old were you when you started doing cinema? Going right. See, this is why an AMA, you can ask me anything. Do I have to answer it? I'm okay with that. I'm 37 years old. I have to do the math sometimes. It's always the same year, 2017, 37. So, and I started with cinema when I was about 23, 24. And I started with After Effects when I was 22, 21. Yeah, there you go. Nice, quick answer. Boom. I love these fast ones. Let's roll through these. Question for everybody else. Show good websites that post MoGraph jobs and projects like Motionographer. Feel free to comment down below and help out Maniality. Thank you for the question. Very important. What about the Angry Bee on your mic? I think I got this from, I want to say Jana Kinsman in Chicago. I think she gave this to me. She is owner of Doodle Booth and Bike-A-Bee. She's doing some awesome stuff in Chicago. And one of the things is running a bunch of beehives from her bicycle. And so she bikes all over Chicago and takes care of the bees, which the world needs much more of. I want to say I got this little bee sticker from her. Anyway, it's been on this side of the microphone forever. I've been staring at it. And every time I do, I think about the bees, think about Jana. And recently was like, all right, I got to let you guys in on some bee love. Flip it over. All right, cool. Let's go. Let's hustle. Get through this. Got some good questions here. We're almost at the end. What's the name of your project management software? Luke, we use Slack day-to-day to talk and communicate, and then we also use DaPulse, D-A-P-U-L-S-E, to run our projects and what's coming out when and who's working on what. That's our current setup. We've tried a bunch, but that's our current setup. Cool. Vincent wants to ask about simulation. I want to achieve some chocolate liquid. Is it better to do in RealFlow or in just Cinema 4D? If you're looking for viscous falling liquid on a candy bar kind of look, XParticles is getting better and better at this. And I think there's I don't know what's announced, so I don't want to say it, but they're always pushing towards more and more liquid style stuff. So if it's really just drizzling on an object, XParticles is getting much, much better at that. However, if you need super sloshy water liquid stuff, RealFlow is still by far the best. So, see where it fits, look for other projects and see if you could figure that out. Nick's advice is solid. Cool. Thanks for the comment, Emaroka. Thanks for that. This chat cut off and lost video. Hopefully everything's okay. IPIV says, I thought you're in the late 20s. Listen, just don't tell anybody. That was between you and me. I told you my real age, but you just can't tell anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to keep this cool guy image, look, come on. 37? You know how old that feels? I don't feel that old. I'll tell you that much. I really don't. So, good news. That's great news. Feeling good. Very cool. So it looks like we have one or two more questions. remember the AskGSG Slack team Christmas video? We're doing a project car. We're doing a new project, Care to Join. Oh, it's hard for us to take on other projects like that, but let us know when it's rolling, and we'll try to help you get the word out too. So thanks, Paul. Crossfader, you're late. Oh my gosh, it's at the end, dude. Thanks for sharing as well. Crossfader, 36 on Sunday. Do you feel 36, Crossfader? I think it's crazy. When I think of my parents' 40th birthday, oh my gosh, I was like alive enough to like remember that, right? It's nuts. My body does, but I don't. That's awesome. Well, hey, let's, I could sit here and answer questions all day. We got to wrap up today, but I really enjoyed this format. Let me know what you thought about this. If I didn't get to your question or I skipped it, I really apologize. I thought I got most of them. But you know, let me know what you think about this format in general. And if you're watching this later, it's all recorded, and you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor and put a question in the comments of something that you want me to talk about next time we do this. It'll help me kind of get off my butt and do another one. So I had fun. You know, I talk too fast as always, but that's my goal. My goal is to try to help answer as many things as I can. So my mouth starts moving, and here I go. Hooligan, thanks for coming. Thank you all for coming, and I really appreciate stopping by the Twitch show. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and don't forget to put your questions down in the comments below. Always looking for new topics to discuss, and the overall goal is to help you in your creative journey, no matter where you are in your career. So we want to hear from you. So with that, thanks again for watching here at Grayscale Gorilla. Make sure to check out our other videos, subscribe if you haven't done so, and with that, I will see you in another video real soon. Bye, everybody. No bloopers today, just another question. I'm trying out my mic with this camera. Does this sound better than some of the old videos? Let me know.